Yo, I'm Mat4yo, and this is Chisel This. Here it is. Today we're finally talking about the Powerpuff Girls Cipher. The Pokemon Gym Leader Rap Cipher. I must admit, I, as a rapper, am a big fan of slow-paced instrumentals that allow you to breathe, come up with creative lines that set up and deliver punchlines, to have different opportunities to wiggle through the instrumental and create different flow patterns and dynamics of your speed. And so naturally, when I received the instrumental for the Gym Leader Rap Cipher, I was terrified. I was like, how is this so fast? I didn't even know where to start. Like, I had so many ideas in my head from being given the assignment to be Blaine a couple days prior. Everything that I had written ahead of time sort of didn't fit anywhere onto this beat. You know, I'm the kind of guy who likes to have some breathing room where it's like, riddle me this, which of us is the hot-headed whiz? It'll be on the quiz, better than quick, da-da-da-da. And then like just space out some of these punchlines and have room to set them up and create more of a world with the vocabulary. This is a challenge in the sense that you have to unwire your brain to think that way and just think, how can I get in and out of something I want to say in the fastest way possible? And not only that, but you have to connect those pieces together without really any room for segue. It was just one of the most technically difficult beats that I've ever had to write anything to, let alone perform to, actually get those words out and have them be understandable, right? And so my verse kept getting more bare bones and bare bones to the point where I was just cutting out like prepositions and other things. And in some ways it makes the end product better because you're prioritizing the way that it flows rather than just the vocabulary. But in another way, you're missing so much of what you want to say. And so when people type in the comments like, oh, I feel this one was too short, I feel like it was missing something, I feel like that is the main culprit. However, the way that it turned out, and once I started to actually hear people's verses coming together, the tempo created something, at least in my mind, that no other cipher ever had. And that's the idea of it being so tightly knit. There's a certain level of consistency. I feel like you get the bigger picture for what you're looking at when it's happening this fast. And also because this particular roster of characters might be the most naturally fitting group that we've ever had in a cipher.
You have this like very cohesive, identifiable group of characters who all belong to the same region, the same Indigo League, and it's so nostalgic in a way, and the way that it just flies by and just goes iconic character after iconic character. It's sort of like playing out a battle montage of you training to sweep through the league and make your way to the Elite Four.
And I feel like that style, along with the keywords and the delivery and the personality drawn out by each particular rapper, makes this one of the most visually interesting ciphers. Not so much in the terrific editing by Sleepless Post, but I mean close your eyes and capture a visual of what you're looking at. This progression that you're familiar with from Pewter City to Cerulean to Vermilion, and all these different characters kind of flashing before your eyes. That really, really worked for me even before I saw the video. When I heard it for the first time, I said, wow, I'm really getting it. Like I'm really feeling this Generation 1 pull that's coming out of these performances and the order in which they are laid out. And I think that makes this cipher so unique. Not every cipher can be the same. So there's people who are gonna say, oh, I wish this one would be longer. Like, yeah, I kind of wish it was longer too, just for my sakes to have more room to write about Blaine, but the end product is something unique. So I love the way it turned out. I actually heard the audio before I watched the video, but I didn't know all of the lyrics. And so what I'll show you right now is a little bit of my reaction sprinkled through the rest of the video to seeing the video for the first time, but also actually picking up some of those lyrics that the other rappers were putting down. I think that Omega Sparks was the first one to really surprise me especially considering that I didn't think it was possible to rap with the cadence that he did on such a fast-paced beat. He takes it slow. There's sort of a dynamic where he is like this slow-moving boulder coming your way, and the beat is sort of just the dust that's getting kicked up beneath of it. And I really love his delivery. Also, there's just good lyrics in here. I'll put your mascot in a bad spot. Like it's just such a Brock thing to say, because he is really the first huge roadblock that Ash faces on his journey. I don't mean the Metapod showdown, I mean like Brock. And then he just has an understanding on his part of the comic relief that Brock also possesses, and he plays into that aspect of him as well. So I really love when he talks about whether in battle or talking to girls, I crush hard. It takes a word, crush, and applies it to two different things that are unique to Brock, and so I absolutely love that. And then Chi-Chi comes in and she does her Chi-Chi thing as expected. I love her opening line because you get that spunk right out of the gate that really shows the contrast between Brock and Misty and how well they work together in the anime. And I did see a comment just a few minutes ago that pointed out that Chi-Chi's opening line, "I know you into me," is a reference to when Cam rapped about Misty in the Trainer Cipher, saying, "Can't be Fog, but I'm into Misty." She does great with referencing move names and just pulling out special keywords. I also like how her lyrics are complemented by the editing, because when she says, "Seeing stars, you can't compete," like that might not ever provoke you to think of Star You and Star Me, but Sleepless Post flashes Star You and Star Me on the screen, and then you get that extra layer of value to consume, which I really enjoy. And I just love how she references Ash, because she can. I mean, she's Ash's first girl, you know? Like, no one else in this cipher, maybe besides Brock, can claim that sort of punchline, and so I like that she actually is the one to say it. I feel like Misty into Surge was the moment for me that all of that imagery of the Kanto gym leaders coming to life really clicked in. Mentally, I can see going from Cerulean right down to Vermilion and just having this shock of character. I think that Peso Pete was born to play Lieutenant Surge. I mean, this was just such an excellent casting decision. The entire cipher, I think one of its strengths is its casting and how well each rapper's personality fits that of the gym leader. I had no idea what he was saying the first time I listened to it. I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna tell you that they didn't enjoy that because they didn't understand what he says. Like, that's sort of the whole point, to shock you in a sense. He also uses just a lot of keywords and vocabulary that makes you think of not only Lieutenant Surge, but the geographical area surrounding him that helps to paint that bigger picture. You have the reference to $1 million in the bank, whipping no bike. So that's like in Vermilion City, you obtain the bike voucher and then you can go actually get a bicycle without having to pay $1 million for it. And then you get the HM Flash by going through the cave that's right to the east of Vermilion City and then getting the HM Flash coming back to Vermilion City. I was getting it. I was feeling what I was supposed to feel when I listened to this.
Battles making more profit. This badge ain't sweet, you can't cop it. Can't taste the rainbow, you lost it. I'm a sensation. Don't test my patience.
Erica is a perplexing character because she is just so different from the three that came before her. She almost has a very humble and introspective personality. And Vice gives you that by saying, heart and soul, my grass is greener. She's a sensation. It's just a little bit softer than the rest of it. It kind of gives you a little bit of a break. I really, really like her line about this badge ain't sweet, you can't cop it. Can't taste the rainbow, you lost it. It being the rainbow badge, a reference to Skittles. I really enjoyed that. Always when killing any opposition, leave him resting when I'm on the attack. Go against me knowing it's a bad decision, leave him in despair, you get smacked. It don't matter what the team is always poison, when the challenge you get put in the back. And then JHB Boss comes in as Koga, and I feel like his entire goal is to just be a ninja, sidestepping you, going from here to there with his very fast-paced rhymes. I think that is the complete intention, right? He makes a couple references to like poison elements and ninja sort of vocabulary, but there's not too heavy references there. I think it's extremely difficult to do both of those things at the same time, to make a lot of references and to just blind the listener with the sort of rapping that he's doing. I also like that he references "we elite, you can't step to the squad," Koga being the only one of those gym leaders who became an Elite Four member. And then, of course, Sleepless Post flashes that on screen, so you get that extra level, right? Sabrina, I mean, what a standout verse for me. She is so on character. She is intimidating, where she can be slow. She can be seductive when the beat drops. She can be hype and old school when she's delivering those telekinesis, telepathy, teleportation. Like, she's just going in on that moment. And I really love the production elements that help to emphasize her verse and make it, I think, the more dynamic verse out of all of them, because she does with the beat what I thought was impossible, right? To make it a little bit different within an individual verse. And I really love that. Abracadabra and alakazam. That's so classic to me. I know that some people were a little disappointed in how she rhymed alakazam with museum, but I mean, like, it didn't take me out of it. Like, I think it's fine. I think that her delivery sells it more than the rhyme sells it itself. It presents an interesting conundrum where this beat is going so fast and you don't have an opportunity to do something in between alakazam and use in my museum, but you want to use both of those things. And so you sort of have to make a sacrifice here. You say, I want to keep this wordplay that I've created and just go with it, or do I eliminate that wordplay just to stick the landing better, just to get out of the verse, which I've already established to be good enough as it is? And that's when you start to wrestle with yourself and think, am I doing this for me, or am I doing it for the audience? And that's something that has been so prevalent in my mind over the last few years, moving out of the phase where I'm just doing this to cram as much in as possible, versus this is one part of a greater whole, and I want people to enjoy it and be entertained on the first listen, because it has to be. That's the first impression. I made some other sacrifices in my verse, for better or for worse. So let's break down how I came up with my verse for Blaine here, the 7th gym leader in the Kanto Gym Leader Cipher. I'm a Pokemon fan at heart. That's what I am before I'm even a rapper. And so it was very important to me to bring out everything I knew about Blaine, that every corner of the Pokemon universe could derive something from. So there's references to his in-game personality, there's references to his anime appearances, and there's references to his appearance in the Pokemon Adventures manga. If you go on Blaine's Bulbapedia page, I think that it'll reveal to you a lot of what I was trying to put down in my verse. So right off the bat, Blaine's tagline is the hot-headed quizmaster, and his gym incorporates a game show element to move on to the next stage, or you have to battle the trainer. So I wanted to incorporate that sort of challenge you face when you enter his gym immediately upon the start of my verse. Riddle me this: which of us is the hot-headed whiz? It'll be on the quiz. And then before you can even really think about answering, I say, quick, say my name, which is the answer to the question. It's not Heisenberg, it's Blaine. Of course, say my name and Heisenberg is a reference to Breaking Bad and one of the more famous lines where he challenges someone to say my name, and then they say Heisenberg. I say, no, it's Blaine, and I must be blazing the mic. Let me grab my shades, right? The real reason I referenced Heisenberg is because his later outfit includes the hat that Heisenberg wears. It's a different color, of course, but he looks like, mustache, he's bald, he has the hat, a scientist. It's Heisenberg, Let me grab my shades, let me unstrap my tie. He has an iconic look that is even different between his incarnations. I rock it like Mewtwo's DNA is a very distinct reference to the Pokemon Adventures manga. So Blaine was involved in the creation of Mewtwo, which was led by Team Rocket, and it's actually revealed later in the adventure that Mewtwo was able to be completed by Blaine adding some of his own human DNA into the creation. And because of that, some of Mewtwo's cells entered Blaine's body, and they became so intimately connected. It actually gives Blaine the power to track Mewtwo's location, but it also sucks out his life force at the same time. And so it was important to me to make that reference. And so I do so by saying I rock it like Mewtwo's DNA. It's short, but that's right the issue I mentioned earlier where you just can't say as much as you want to when the beat is so fast. I just explained that in such excruciating detail to you, and the end result is 5 words in the verse. But that's what I hope that you get from my verse, to learn something from it. I want you to pull something deeper out of it. I want you to say, oh, I got that, or maybe I'm the only one who got that, or oh my God, that's a reference to this. And I just wanted to stimulate something besides just the ears. I can make this volcano detonate, right? This old man's gonna have the roof raised is another example of how I wanted to make those kinds of references. In the original games, one of the more famous glitches is the old man on the roof, particularly the roof of the Cinnabar Island gym, where Blaine is the gym leader. It's just great. Something I remember from when I was a little kid. I was so fascinated with all the Gen 1 glitches. It was just unbelievable. So I wanted to pull out that part of my relationship with Blaine and the Pokemon games. The double meaning in this reference is that raise the roof is a common thing that you would say at a party or something like that. But R-A-Z-E, a homophone for raise, is to completely destroy something, like a building or a town, right? Any Pokemon fans would know that Cinnabar Island is completely razed before the events of Generation 2 Gold and Silver, and Blaine is forced off of the island, and he sets up his gym in the Seafoam Islands instead. So the visual I'm trying to paint here in this part of the verse is that Blaine was so powerful that he made Cinnabar Island, a volcano, erupt, and destroyed his own town by raising the roof. Rough and Ready is actually a part of his Fame Checker description from Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. His favorite kind of Pokemon, he says, my fiery Pokemon are all rough and ready with intense heat. They incinerate all challengers. I knew I had to reference Arcanine. I really didn't want to go for the low-hanging fruit of Arc a number 9. You guys, your stories are good, but my legendary Arc's a 9. I thought that was just too obvious, in the same way that making a reference to Burn Heal was just too obvious. Maybe it would have been better to make those 2 references, just to cram as much in there as possible. On the other hand, I've been told that a lot of my stuff comes off like dad jokes, and I'm trying to be a little bit more in the camp of just making it sound good and having some good punchlines at the same time. So it's a struggle. Maybe if it was a little bit longer, I would have had an opportunity to reference dogs barking up trees and burning, so making like Arcanine, Forest Fire, Barkin' Time. Like I could have made that vocabulary a little bit more expansive, but like I said earlier, there's not enough room to do it, and some things suffer as a result.
Who needs firearms when you got a Magmar? Look at my scars. I'm no saint, but I'll make every sin a bar.
Who needs firearms when you got a Magmar? My original line here was, who needs firearms when you got a mag to mar? My scientific method is a question mark. I'm no saint, but I'll make every sin a bar. So I'm trying to excuse the final line and give you a reason as to why I'm saying I'm not a saint, because he's like a scientist and he has like, shady morals, so that kind of thing. There just wasn't enough room to fit it in. So I had to sacrifice that to just make it sound better, right? Who needs firearms when you got a Magmar? Look at my scars. I'm no saint, but I'll make every sin a bar. You have to prioritize certain things. And so the Magmar line, it does have a double meaning of Magmar having firearms and saying who needs a gun. And there's also the reference within Magmar being that a mag, or a magazine, like, a magazine of ammunition is what you put into a firearm, and Magmar, to mar, M-A-R, is a word that means to impair or disfigure. So it's still there, but it's not as obvious when you have the instrumental pace to contend with. And of course, I'm no saint, but I'll make every sin a bar. Cinnabar Island is, of course, where Blaine is, and he's saying that, yeah, I'm not the most moral person, I'm not a saint, but with all the unsaintly things that I do, I promise to make every one of them a good rap punchline. I'll make every sin a bar. And then finally, Cam Steady comes in as Giovanni. I feel like Cam has this burning desire to actually physically become Giovanni in the future. And I mean, you do you, my friend. You go at it. You make those references to the original verse where you played Giovanni. And my favorite part of Cam's verse is when he says, "As you aim for the Hall of Fame, I'll be the golem holding ground, guarding at the gate." And I just love this line because that to me is what Giovanni, the gym leader, is. So, you know, not the crime boss, not Team Rocket's leader, not Jesse and James's overseer. Like in the gym leader version, he is the guy who stands between you and the Elite Four. He's the final gatekeeper, and he's holding ground like the type that he specializes in. So I really love that line. As soon as he told me he did, I was like, oh, that's fire. Like, so I love that. And he's standing strong and being that commanding presence, being the leader of not only the gym leaders, but of the Cipher that he himself created. So it's meta in a way. And it's awesome. So I love the way that this turned out. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And I want you to stay tuned because there is a particular, shall I say, request that I'm seeing a lot in the comment section of Cam Ciphers that I know is not feasible. It's not going to happen, but it's something that I'm considering creating into a series. 2023 is going to be a good year, whether or not most of my uploads are coming on Cam's channel or mine. So look forward to it. Look forward to more ciphers, and never grow up, my friends. I'm Mat4yo. That's all for you today.
I will train across the land just to have that badge in hand. I don't need to light a match for this world to turn to ash. No, did I sleep late? Must have been stuck in the dream phase. Got 3 choices in hand for my teammate, but I got slapped with the rat with the resting meme face. We make haste on the road to our destiny. Made as many friends as